Hi everyone, it's Karen Whooley, and today is December 22nd, and it's 3 days to Christmas. I'm so excited, and I want to welcome you all to the Team Whooleygan live chat for December 22nd. I just wanted to pop on. It might be a little bit shorter today. Because I don't have a whole lot to share, but if you guys have questions for me, make sure to put them in the chat. If you want to have a topic you want to talk about, we can do that too. But before we get started, I just want to let everybody who is a new follower know that you can find out more about me at KarenWhooley.com. KarenWhooley.com has everything, my patterns, my books, my classes, my previous live streams are there, my blog is there. And while you're there, make sure you subscribe to my newsletter. All newsletter subscribers get 25% off all new releases. And I do have a new pattern coming in January. So you might want to be subscribed for that. And also, I should let everybody know that the free pattern that you get when you subscribe to my newsletter is Pache. And it goes to a paid pattern at midnight on January 1st. And at midnight, January 1st, you will also get the 2022 free pattern, which I'm not going to share until it's launched. So make sure, if you want to get both of them, subscribe now between now and December 31st at 11:59, because it's going to switch at 11:59. So make sure that and a specific time, I should mention too. So if you don't live in the Pacific time zone, check a time zone calculator to find out in your time zone what time that would be. Anyway, I want to let you know that you can also go directly to the newsletter subscription form, which is right here at this link. So make sure you check that out as well. And also, you are probably watching, if you're watching right this second while I'm going live, you are on YouTube, it's the only place I stream live. If you're not watching on YouTube, check out my YouTube channel. This is the link right here below. And make sure you hit the thumbs up and the subscribe button. The more thumbs up I get, the better it is for the algorithm. So make sure you hit that thumbs up button. And if you're watching after the fact, you might be watching here on YouTube, or you might be watching on Rumble. Rumble is another video streaming platform. I'm not streaming live yet there. I have to check into it to see how it's done. But this is my Rumble channel. My Rumble channel is growing really fast. So make sure you check that out as well. And also hit the Rumble button there and subscribe to my channel so you can get notified when these videos go up. Also, you can follow me on Instagram. And Instagram, my handle is at Karen Whooley. So make sure you check out my Instagram. I'm most active there most of the time. I'm going to be a little quieter right now with the Christmas season happening, but I will still be posting. So check that out as well. I'm going to head over to the chat room because I see there's already some comments in there. And let's see. Oh, Kelly, good morning. It's good to see you. I'm glad you're here. And let's see, Linda's here also, and Daisy, good. And Daisy's watching until I get back from picking up a dictation. Button is smashed. Awesome, Linda. I hope you get back soon. And Laura's here. Good morning, Laura. Glad you're here. And Teresa's here also from North Carolina. Awesome. You're not your usual place. Where are you usually from? I can't remember now, but I'm glad you're watching. I'm glad you're here. So, first of all, guys, I'm glad you were able to pop in for a little bit with me today. You'll notice that my lighting's a little bit different. It's really interesting outside. We had snow earlier this week. Oh, that's right, Teresa, Utah. I remember that now. Yes. Okay. Utah. So we had snow earlier this week. It's cloudy, it's cold, and then suddenly the sun pops in. So the lighting is different. So I have a light bulb that's actually hitting my face as a diffused light, but it's been causing issues with my glasses. So you'll notice I have different glasses on. These are my computer glasses, and they don't have, well, they have a special coating, but it doesn't make my eyes purple. You can still see the shine of the screen, but it's the lighting. It's weird. When I go to the eye doctor next month, I'm going to talk to them about fixing my glasses so that when I go on live stream, I don't have any issues. So the lighting's kind of weird, but what I did find out as I was putting things up to the camera just to see what the lighting did to it, it actually makes the colors pop better. So this might be something I'll be doing in the future with the lighting in here, depending on what's coming through my window. But right now that I had to pull the shades down and everything because it's just weird. So let's talk about my projects that I've got done this week. I told you guys, I showed it to you, that I was working on my stocking and I finished it this week. But before I do that, I want to put up the link. I used the Wool of the Andes. That is an affiliate link there. So that's why it looks kind of funny. But this is my stocking. I just got it off the blocking board yesterday. I haven't even put it up yet because I wanted to be sure I could show it to you. So that's my stocking. So I have all 5 stockings done, guys. I'm so excited that they're all done. So I'm really excited how it turned out. I like the colors. I was thinking I might change it to white next year, but I'll have to see how it looks when I put it in our room because with the lighting I have in this room, you can really see it. But in person, it doesn't look quite the same. So, but it makes everything pop. So there you go. Good morning, Stephanie. I just saw you pop in. It's good to have you here. And you're visiting. That's right. You mentioned that before, that you were visiting your daughter for Christmas. That's awesome. My son is arriving today around 10:55. I'm going to pick him up from the airport. And I'm very lucky where we live right now. The airport's literally like 10 minutes away. I think it's an 8-minute according to Google. So I'm really excited that he's here. Laura says, sometimes you find the best solutions by accident. Yep. Yeah, absolutely. That seems to be my day or my life lately. It was all the things that happened by accident. And Teresa says she loves it. Oh, my stocking. Yes. I'm actually looking at it on the screen now. I actually do like it. So I might give it a couple years before I change it if I decide to change it. And thank you, Laura. Oh my gosh. To finish mine, 4 days before Christmas? That's nuts. But I did it, all 5 of them. So, and I think I started Bryce's with my son-in-law because he was the first in September. So I did pretty darn good. I'm pretty impressed with myself. Okay, so I used the Wool of the Andes for that from We Crochet, Knit Picks, whatever you want to call them. They no longer really call it a brand name other than the Wool of the Andes. And then on the back, they have both logos on the ball of yarn. I have that polka dot bag you see behind me there. That has all the leftovers in it, and I don't want to just go grab it. So, but you can check out the Wool of the Andes there. Okay, so not yesterday, over the weekend, I was watching football. The Seahawks didn't play until yesterday because of COVID restrictions. But on Saturday, my son's alma mater, Montana State University, played South Dakota State University for a spot in the national championship for the FCS football. So it's not the big leagues; it's the league right below them. So like not the Big Ten or any of that. They're in the Big Sky league, but they won. But while I was watching the game and the Seahawks yesterday, I started myself another pair of socks. This has been done in Schmutzerella yarns. I can't talk today. I'm losing my voice today, so I apologize. Along with the weird weather and the light outside, is so dry and I can't get enough water in. Anyway, Schmutzerella yarn. This is her spectacular base. And this is a limited edition colorway. I don't know if you can see, there's little strands that are sticking out of Stellina. And this is her, the name of the colorway is Stash Wars Gomez. Gomez is her cat. She's a friend of mine. So I know her cat well from Instagram and all the stories she tells me about Gomez. But Stash Wars came from, we used to have a yarn shop over in Kirkland, Washington, when I was living on the other side of the state, called Serial Knitters. And I've used her yarn before. She has Cherry Creek sock that I used for the Summer Flowers cowl. And she and Nancy at Mozzarella used to dye I think it was monthly. It might have been quarterly, but I'm pretty sure it was more than quarterly. They would get some sort of theme, and they called it Stash Wars. And then the two of them would dye based on whatever the theme was. And that month was their cats. So this was Smutzerella's because it's got the black in it. Gomez is black, but she likes a lot of color, so she put color in it. And then, let's see if I can find. And this is the Dye House yarns from Serial Knitters. And this was Quiche. I think that's the name of her cat. And this is what she dyed. And it's based on the colors of her cat with a little extra color in there. So I bought them both together because they were I just love the colors. But I decided to make myself some socks with this. Even though it's got the stellina in it, it's soft enough that I didn't have to worry about it being itchy. So I've started some socks. I turned the heel already last night while I was watching the game. I turned the heel, and I just saw some comments come in. Let's see. The team closest to me is the Bison. Not my team, but I thought you would recognize them. Yes, because Montana State is playing the Bison in the national championships in January. I know they had a 3-week break before the national championship. So yeah, but this is what I was doing on Saturday and on yesterday while I was watching the Seahawks. So yeah, I'm liking the way it's turning out. I'm gonna get it a little closer. You can see how the striping is. So it's just my vanilla sock pattern from my grandmother with the cuff changed. So it doesn't have a rolled collar or a rolled cuff, and then just her standard heel and gusset pattern. I'm working on the gusset now. So that's what I'm doing here. I saw Teresa come in for a dry throat. I know I keep saying I'm going to do that, and I just have to go buy the honey. I'm also an asthmatic, and the way I breathe and the way I speak causes issues with my throat. So the dryness makes everything worse. So it's interesting. How do you do your heels? I've tried German short rows, afterthought heel, and Kitchener. Always end up with a hole. I do a heel and gusset. So literally I work from the cuff down. And then when I get to where I want the heel, I do a heel flap, which is just, since I cast on 64 stitches, I do magic circle or magic loop for knitting with socks. And I take one side of the 32 stitches, and I work, it's 32 rows of, first you start with a slip, and then you do purl stitch. And then when you turn it, you do slip, knit, slip, knit, slip, knit, slip, knit. And that's what gives me 32 rows of the heel flap. And then after you do row 32, you're going to turn it to the wrong side again. And then you're going to do the heel turn, which is literally short rows that get you down to a smaller number of stitches. And then you pick up on the sides of the heel flap on both sides, and then you start knitting the gusset to get your stitches down to whatever stitches you need. In my case, it's 64. So that's how I do it. So if you ever want to learn how to do that, Google heel flap and gusset knit socks, and that's the way I do it. That's the way my grandmother did it. In fact, this is her pattern. So except for the cuff, there's nothing changed on it. It's the picking up the stitches no matter what you're doing with the German short rows or the afterthought, because I have done afterthought heels on, especially when I have self-striping yarn, I'll do afterthought heels so that everything kind of matches up. And it's all in how you pick up your stitches. I have done Kitchener as well. German short rows, I don't know if I've done those or not. I might be called something else, but it's all in how you pick up the stitches. You got to pick them up in the right places. And I took a class with Ann Budd a few months ago online, and she actually taught about how to not have holes. And if I can remember, or remind me after the holidays to find those notes. I do have them in a special spot, so I can find those notes and I can send you the information she recommended. But it's basically when you pick up your rows, you got to go down a little bit. So it's easier to see when she did it. I wrote a bunch of notes, but I'll try to describe it if I can for you. And let's see. I have had good luck with shadow short rows. I don't know what shadow short row. Oh, shadow wrap. Okay. Shadow wrap short rows. Yeah, that I've heard. I haven't done those yet, but yes, I've heard that helps too with the holes in the socks. Yes. So anyway, so that's my sock project. And then I finally, guys, oh, hang on 1 second. Yesterday during the game too, I actually was going to work on this instead of the socks. But when I got, this is my sweater, my Sherwood sweater. This is the pattern link. So if you're interested in the pattern, this is the link to the pattern. I finally cast it on. I'm using, this is Fiber Spates. Vivacious DK. All of these links are going to be in the show notes, so don't worry if you don't catch them right away. This is their Vivacious DK in mixed magentas, and I got to the point of where I can start the color work, and I'm using the Shopple Edition 3 for the color work, and the game was going so poorly I could not even think about doing color work, so I went back to my socks. But I got the first 4 rows done, but it was really cool. Okay, I know everything I'm showing you right now is knitting instead of crochet, but what was really cool about this particular pattern, I should put up the Shopple Edition 3, there you go, is that I did a crochet cast on with my hook. I've never done a crochet cast on before. And a crochet cast on, I'm gonna try to turn this around to where I'm at. We're at 1 stitch short of the marker where the beginning of the round. But if you kind of look, you see there's a chain at the bottom. And the way you put it on the hook, in her case, I had to do it in double. So I used the beginning and the end of one cake to actually cast on. And then the first row, we knit purl so that it makes this nice edge. It's firm and it won't roll, from what I understand. So I'm anxious to get this farther along so I can see what it looks like. Now, the interesting thing is that she said to use 24-inch needles. And I think I should have been at least a 32 for my size. I'm not sure I'm going to stick with this for the remainder of the sweater. I might do the color work in these short needles and just see how it goes. But for me, this seems a little too bunched up. I don't know. If my stitches in the color work end up being better, then when I even with the socks, I did magic loop with the socks, and there's some spots that are a little loose. So I'm going to see how this goes. But I may end up having to rip it out. But what's interesting is that you cast on with everything double, and then you do the purl row double, and then you go back to a single strand. So I was able to cut. That's why you see 3 tails here instead of just 2, because I had to cut one of the strands. I used the one in the center that I cut and tucked back into the center. Because whenever I work a cake, I always work from the outside. That's something I learned when I was working at my local yarn shop several years ago, is that sometimes with when you wind a hank into a cake, you get a little bit of a knot inside. And then with me, if I pull the knot too hard in the center of the cake, everything explodes and then I have to rewind it and it's a mess. So I've learned to start just to work from the outside, even though it supposedly is a center pull. But I've had, especially in lace weight yarn, where it just kind of tangles within itself inside. And it's almost like the yarn barf you see on the regular skeins, like these kind of skeins that you get sometimes if you're pulling from the center. So just so you guys, a little tip, if you're, whether you knit or crochet, that's what I do, whether I'm knitting or crocheting. I see there's more chats in here. Let's see. Teresa says, picking up the stitches is the hardest part of making socks. Yep, it is. And I agree. It took me a long time to figure that part out, to get it even picking up along the edge of the gusset, to not have holes. But I finally got that down. And then the hole in the corner is what Ann Budd also helped with all sorts of different heels. So there you go. Yay, love that color. I'm glad you're here, Linda. I'm glad you made it back. So there you go. So Laura said, one of my favorite cast-ons. Yeah. Yeah, the cable cast on too. Yes, I like that. And I also like, oh gosh, is it the German stretchy cast on? I use that when I'm making socks. I've learned how long, I mean, literally, I have a special chair that I sit in, and I've figured out how long I need the yarn to be on my needles to get 64 stitches with just a small enough tail to actually not waste that much yarn. I mean, I might be within an inch of, I usually try to leave a 6-inch tail just so I have enough to sew. And I'm usually either within 5 or 7 inches when I do it that way, depending on, it's usually the thickness of the yarn that changes it. So, but it's really funny because I can tell you I need like 10 inches that just kind of pulls at the bottom. I'm on the floor when I'm sitting in this chair, and that's all I need to do the cast on. But yeah, I have now that I've done this crochet cast on, I might use that on a socks just to see how it goes. Chinese waitress cast on gives that crochet chain look on the bottom and is fairly stretchy. I use it on hat brim. Oh, okay, I've never heard of that one. That's a cast on I've never heard of. I just liked this one because I actually got to use my crochet hook and I was crocheting the yarn onto the needle, and it was especially since I had to cast on 230 stitches, made it so much easier to cast on and count. And I just put stitch markers every 50 stitches, and then did the last 30 on, and I had the counts turned out perfect. So usually when I'm knitting and I have to cast on that many stitches, and I have to do either a regular cast on or a long tail cast on or something different, even the stretchy cast on, it's so hard to keep track, even if I put stitch markers in. So this one's easy because it's such a natural thing for me to crochet. Okay, it starts similar to a cable cast on. Interesting. I'll have to look that cast on up. That's something I've never seen before. Okay, guys. Well, I've shown you everything that I was planning to talk about today, and it's only 9:24 my time. So I am able to stay till 10 if you guys have topics you want to talk about. I don't really have a whole lot to say this, of what's new and what's going on and stuff like that. So I can tell you yesterday I filmed a video and it turned out horribly. I don't know why. My camera was, for some reason, I film with my cell phone, and I have an app that usually mirrors onto my tablet so that I can see my hands, even though the camera's up here. And for some reason, it just kept slowing down and stopping. And so now I have to redo probably 2 hours worth of work that I did to film this video. So that's about all I can tell you about, other than finishing these projects and starting some new ones. I promised myself that I wasn't going to start designing any new patterns until January. So the yarns I showed you last week, the blue and the green up here, those won't be started till January. I did post on Instagram some blue yarn that I'm going to be working on. It's a pattern that I already did, and I've been wanting to film it for a long time. So I'm going to go ahead and do that today, or not today, but over the next couple weeks. But my office is officially closed through January 2nd. I will check email from time to time, but I've got an autoresponder on that I won't be answering emails until the 3rd. If you order anything, the shop is always open, but if you have any physical products, books or physical patterns, I won't be shipping those until the 3rd. My son, like I said, is arriving pretty soon, so he'll be here through Monday. My daughter arrives on Friday, and she'll be here through Sunday, I believe. And then my husband's off all next week. And for those of you guys, I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but that New Year's Day is my birthday. So New Year's is kind of new beginnings for me in a lot of different ways. It's a new year. It's my birthday. It's, start of a new fiscal year for my business, all sorts of stuff. So this year is the first time in probably, I don't know, probably 10 years that I am going to try not to work very much, because my husband's off the entire week. And I am going to, I'll probably crochet and do stuff like that, but I'm going to try to stay away from email unless there's something that I absolutely have to answer right off the bat. So I'm kind of excited. So anyway, anybody have anything you want to talk about? I mean, you can ask me about anything, a pattern club, something you're working on, question you've had that's never been answered about crochet, anything. So just let me know. Otherwise, we can knock off early, and I'll be back next week. That is something I am planning to do, because if I lose the commitment now, I'm afraid that it'll be hard for me to get back into the swing of things. So even if it's only a half hour or more, a little less, I'll be on. So, and I told my husband that I am going to be doing it. So question about teaching. Let's see. Go ahead, Kelly. Oh, and then while Kelly's typing, Stephanie says, I'm just trying to finish up my Christmas gifts. I gave myself this year off not to crochet anything Christmas gift wise or knit anything, because between all the stuff I did last year and doing these stockings, it was one of those things. So yeah. But my kids are kind of disappointed because I told them already. I usually have knit socks in everybody's stocking, and this year they're not getting knit socks. So they're kind of disappointed. So yeah. Okay. So Kelly asks, did you learn to teach others to crochet, or did you just wing it? Kind of both. I don't know if that makes sense. I'm going to tell you how I started. When we were still living in California, my kids were tiny. I mean, we moved to Washington. Cassie was 17 months and Tyler was going to be 3 in that September. He was a little over 2. I guess he was 2.5 when we moved to Washington. I had some friends in the area that I always wanted to learn to crochet. So they would come over and I'd teach them. And there was a group of us that just kind of knew how to crochet. And so we kind of met and did stuff like that. And I would teach, people who wanted to learn to crochet a little bit, nothing major. But then we moved to Washington in 2000. And then I started my design career when my daughter was born. So 1998, I started designing. And then when I moved to Washington, I released 2 leaflets, Simply Afghans and Simply Baby Afghans. And I did it all self-publishing. I had a printer in the area that I printed them all for me. And those two books caused a person who did the professional development for the Crochet Guild of America to ask me to come to the guild and the conference in New Hampshire. And I lived in Washington. This was in New Hampshire. This was 2004. And she said, we'd like to have you teach about how to self-publish. And so I told her, I said, I could do that, but they were going to pay me for it. But I really need to be able to teach or make some money some other way. So they actually had me teach my first 6 classes that I taught nationally there. And I kind of winged it, honestly. I mean, literally, I created a lesson plan and winged it. Since then, I am a crochet. What is it? I have the certificates up on the wall. Oh no, I don't have the certificates up on the wall right now. The Craft Yarn Council has certified me as a teacher and an instructor. So I went through their classes. I also took a class on Craftsy from Gwen Bortner about how to organize your class. So that's kind of how, between those two things, that's how I started organizing my classes. Now, I'm known as the teacher who, I do teach off the cuff mostly. I mean, I have an outline and I kind of know the timing I want of everything, but I don't have everything written down. So if you've ever taken like a video class from me, I have notes that you guys can't see on screen just to remind me to talk about certain topics, but everything else is off the cuff. So, and sometimes I'll teach something that's not in my notes because I have enough questions or it pops into my head. And I like teaching that way because I feel like every class is custom to the students that are in the class, because a lot of times I'll have all advanced students and I can just skip along because I don't need to teach something that's a basic. Other times I'll have, mostly I'll have some advanced people, but I'll have some people that are in the beginner intermediate that may not have learned how to do a foundation single or something like that. So I can quickly switch gears and teach that really fast. And the people who are more advanced can move on a little bit ahead. And then once everybody's caught up together and understands where we're at, I can teach the rest of the class. So that's just kind of how I do it. Does that help, Kelly, at all? I hope that helps. Let's see, Linda says, hopefully I won't have to run and pick up tape next Wednesday. I don't like being chewed out. I'm so glad that you feel that way. I'm glad you could be here. So that's awesome. And then Kelly says, I'm teaching an intro crochet to middle schoolers and adults. I'm worried about it. I know how to, but worried about teaching others properly, especially since they're paying for it. I would not worry about it, especially since it's an intro to crochet. Just take your time. The hardest thing is if there's any parent, I'm assuming there's parents in this class. If there's any parents in this class that might know a little bit about crochet and they try to take over the class, that's the hardest part. I've done this before. I've taught middle schoolers with adults and their parents, and trying to correct incorrect information that parents are trying to tell their kids to do is the hardest thing. So you need to, that's the other thing. If none of them know how to crochet, they're not going to know if you slip up something, or you have to go back and say, hey, I forgot about this, or that kind of thing. Intro classes are not hard. As long as you're teaching them the proper way to hold the, to make the stitches and wrap the yarn and, all that stuff. Lefties, if you're left-handed, or if they're left-handed, you're right-handed, I'm not sure which way you are, that can be sometimes difficult, but if they mirror you, especially the kids can mirror you well. And then I taught myself to crochet with my left hand so that I can help lefties. And what's really nice is I'm super slow at it. So when I'm doing things, I'm so slow, they can get the picture, the idea. So, but I do crochet with my left hand, not normally, but when I teach lefties, I always make sure I flip in and do that as well. Linda says she's halfway through my cousin's prayer shawl, but I haven't worked on it because of writing out cards and notes. Oh man. Well, my housework got put off too. So yeah. So, fortunately, like I said, I wasn't going to be doing gifts this year. So there we go. Too many interruptions with transcription and working at the store. I can understand that too. I was looking into that class from Craft Council. Yes, the class from Craft Yarn Council is great. I tried to do it virtually or remotely, where they send you all the materials and you just work through it, and then you ship them the stuff and they go through it. That was so hard for me to do. So I ended up finding a class that was they actually brought the class to the Crochet Guild of America one year in Reno, and I was teaching in Reno that year. So I actually flew out 2 days early so I could do the class live. To be, I did all the samples that they wanted before the class, and then we did the class portion, and then I got certified. So there's 2 ways to do it. So if you can find a class that's local to you, because sometimes they will bring the classes local to you, I think it's great. And the cool thing about working with Craft Yarn Council is that you get to keep everything, and they have a handbook that you can actually print out, or at least they used to. I haven't looked at the new materials because I can download materials anytime, and I know they've updated some of the materials. They used to allow you to print out sheets from the handbook to hand out to your students about, like how to do a single crochet, how to do a double crochet, that kind of thing, so that you didn't have to create your own handouts. You could use that. So that's something to look into. Oh, luckily there are 2 separate classes. Well, then you're okay with the parent thing. So you should be good. You should be good. I was teaching an intro to knitting, and the only problem student was the one who said, I paid to learn how to knit, not cast on. Yeah, I know. There's a lot of people who don't understand the language, and they don't realize that. And that's something you learn along the way, is that when you're introducing a new topic, especially to beginners who said, I want to learn how to knit, or I want to learn how to crochet and I don't want to learn how to chain. We say, well, chaining is the first step of crochet. It's one of the stitches. There's multiple stitches. You have to kind of ease them into the lingo so they understand where you're at. What you're teaching them is part of crochet or part of knitting. Everyone was well on their finishing scarf. She refused to cast on. Well, students like that, you have to just ignore them. At some point, you have to just say, well, you're not going to be able to learn to knit if you don't cast on. So you paid for this class, and there's nothing you can do about it. How does the crocheting affect pattern reading? It depends on the author of the pattern. Now, back in the old days, when everything was written for right-handed people, they would say turn right to left or left to right, depending on what the pattern was doing. But it was always based on a right-handed person. So the lefties had a hard time visualizing. Nowadays, if you look at my patterns, I never put a right side or a left side unless I'm talking about the right and wrong side of something. And like if I was talking about the back of a sweater, let's say, and I want to attach the right sleeve, then I'll talk about the right sleeve and the left sleeve, or in the pattern, I'll say, this is how you crochet the right sleeve or crochet the left sleeve. And if they reverse it, they're going to have to switch themselves usually. I just thought about that they probably are going to have to switch. So especially if something's different about right versus left, like the way it sits up here or something. So it can affect a lot. It also affects, I don't know if you realize this, but when you're looking at the fabric, the little chain that sits on top of the stitch, when you're right-handed, it sits to the right of the stitch. And when you're left-handed, it sits to the left of the stitch. So when you're looking at the fabric the first time and you're looking at a left-handed crocheter, Sometimes that throws your brain off on what you're doing. I know it does for me anyway, even way back when I first started teaching classes, especially. I had to stop and really think about what I'm looking at and if the stitch was made correctly, left-handed versus right-handed, because the twist of the stitch is going to be different and everything. So what I recommend is literally make a chain with your left hand, do some single crochets with your left hand, and then do some double crochets with your left hand, so you can see what the difference between right and left-handed looks like. So that's really important too. But reading the patterns, most of the time, the more current patterns aren't going to have an issue. It's literally when somebody, and I'm going to be honest with you, the people who do the free patterns on their website and don't do any tech editing, and even some of the tech editors don't deal with this either, is they'll say from right to left, because right hand, you're crocheting right to left, unless you're doing the crab stitch or the reverse single crochet, and then you're going from left to right, which also can be confusing to a lefty when you're reading the patterns, because it'll say from right to left or from left to right for the crab stitch. So it's confusing. So the first thing I do in a class is ask if anybody's left-handed. I've only had one student who's a left-handed for everything crochet right-handed. And she could not crochet left-handed at all. I mean, it was a struggle for her. And as soon as she flipped it to her right hand, it was like her brain started working with her right hand. And she's a beautiful crocheter now. And I haven't seen her in several years, but every once in a while she'll send me an email, because she moved to somewhere in the Midwest. And she sends me an email and says, "Look what I just made. And I'm still crocheting right-handed." So that can happen too. These were adults, only one 12-year-old. Yep, I've had those classes too. Stephanie says, I hadn't planned on making gifts until I got invited to my stepson's in Houston. I'm almost done. Oh, that's good then. That's good then if you're almost done. It's and that's awesome that you got invited to say you're making gifts for people. So that's awesome. Next, I'm going to start early this coming year. I'm going to start probably in spring and start knitting the socks that I need for the stockings. So there you go. Okay, so Kelly says, thank you for all the great information. No problem. Anytime. I'm glad to share how I teach. I mean, I'll be honest, a lot of times I do wing it. But the only reason I wing it is because I never know what level my students are. If they've ever, I have a lot of people who say, oh, my grandmother taught me how to do the double stitch. And I thought, well, it's not called the double stitch, it's the double crochet. I know a lot of people out there call it the double stitch, but that's not the proper name for it. So I have to call it double crochet, and then I have to, and then they're wrapping their yarn incorrectly on. Now with knitting, it's not so, well, it is obvious in knitting too, I guess. But with crochet, if you wrap your yarn, depending on which hand you have your hook in, incorrectly to make the basic stitches, your basic stitches have a twist to them that is wrong. So I have to break a lot of those habits for those people who learned maybe 20 years ago, and they think they know how to do a double crochet and they really don't. Or there's a lot of people out there too that are taking a beginner's crochet class, but they learned from a grandparent or an aunt or somebody from the UK. And the UK does not have a single crochet. What we call a single crochet, they call a double crochet. So you have to know the different terms if it's somebody who learned from someone in Europe, let's say, or Australia even. The UK versus the US terms is different. And that's where Craft Yarn Council really helps too, Kelly. So if you're interested in that. Okay, anybody else have anything you want to talk about? Oops, I'm dropping things on my desk today. One of the things I want to get done before my son arrives is clear off my desk, because my desk, if you saw it on the top of my desk right now, it's a mess. I've got the felting project over there. Oh, I should talk about that really quick. I haven't put it in stone yet because there's a doctor's appointment I'm waiting to schedule. but I think we're going to start the crochet along on the 17th of January. I wanted to give the Pattern Club a week to be launched before I went to do the crochet along. So I think it's the week of the 17th of January that we'll start the crochet along. And that should give you guys enough time to get all the materials you need and everything. So on January 4th in my newsletter, I will have all the information on how to register for that. I did forget about that. But anyway, my desk is, I have like over here, I have all the stuff for that. I have, all the stuff I just showed you over here. I've got all my paper that I've been working on because, all my planning and it's a mess over here. And my crochet hooks and pens all over the place. So I got to clear my desk. Yesterday, I took the time to clear off my extra table. I don't know if you can see right here. I have an extra table and I've set it up completely for filming now. So I should be able at the drop of a hat to just pop over there and shoot a video if I need to for anything. So that's all ready to go. But this right here needs to be cleaned up. And you can probably see right here, I have a stack of papers that needs to be dealt with too. So it's amazing what happens when you let everything go to finish projects and then have to clean up the mess later. So, okay. If nobody else has questions for me, I'm going to go ahead and do my closing, and then I'll come back to chat. And if there's anything that somebody thinks about, don't hesitate to pop it in there. I have until 10, so that's another 14 minutes. So don't worry if you have something else you need to ask me. So for those of you who are watching after the fact, thank you for watching all the way through. And for those of you who are live too, I want to thank you for being here. I really appreciate the fact that you guys pop in and watch me live as well. Don't forget to check out my website at KarenWhooley.com. And while you're there, make sure you subscribe to my newsletter. Here's the direct link. And remember, you only have a few more days, a little over a week, to get both the 2021 and the 2022 free patterns. So if you're not a subscriber, now's a good time to do it so you can get that extra pattern in there for free. If you're not watching on YouTube, make sure you check out my YouTube channel. This is the link. And also make sure while you're there, you hit the subscribe button and you hit the thumbs up on this video so that the algorithm will see me more often. So if you're not watching on YouTube and you're watching after the fact, you might be watching on Rumble. Rumble is another streaming platform. This is the link to get to my channel. Make sure you hit the Rumble button there and also subscribe to the channel. This Rumble is actually growing by leaps and bounds. And I'm hoping that by Q2 of 2022, I'll be able to live stream to Rumble as well. So be watching for that. I also use Rumble on my blog when I repost or when I create the post for the live streams on my blog. So you might be watching on my blog as well. And also make sure you're following me on Instagram. I'm going to be doing a lot more with video on Instagram next year. That was the plan for 2021 and, well, cancer. So 2022 is going to hopefully be a little bit more video oriented. So if you're looking for video of me talking or of me showing something or just a video of new patterns and things like that, that's a place to follow me. So I'm going to go back to the chat room because I leave and you guys suddenly start chatting again. Let's see. Teresa said, I had to pack enough hooks, needles, and yarn for my trip. It's a mess. That's the thing about traveling with projects, is especially for me, because I always end up overpacking too. Projects because I think I'm faster than I actually am. Now on the plane, if I'm flying, I usually get a lot done, but once I'm there, I get nothing done. So, and if it's a car trip, then I usually am good. But when I fly somewhere, it's always crazy. I hope everyone has a wonderful holiday season. Kelly, I hope so too. I hope you guys do. There, she has a little tree. That's so cute. And Linda says, thanks for the nice visit. I want to wish you and everyone a Merry Christmas. I'm going to get to that in just a second. And if we don't see you next week, happy birthday. Thank you. I appreciate that. I'll probably be here next week. Merry Christmas, Laura. I'm glad you guys are so great. And yes, Merry Christmas. More video, no cancer. Exactly, Linda. Before I sign off, Christmas is my favorite time of year, guys. And I hope that each and every one of you have a very, very blessed Christmas. And if I don't see you here next week, a blessed New Year too. Like I said, it's my birthday, but I always think of everybody else on my birthday too, because I know that that's the beginning of everything. And with the way the last couple of years have gone, I'm really hoping and praying for bigger and better things in 2022 for all of us. So I hope you guys are going to have family or at least have, time for yourself, even if you're spending it alone or without other people. That you have a blessed day. It's a very special day to me. So I hope that every single one of you has a wonderful, wonderful Christmas. And I will see you next Wednesday. Stephanie just popped in with her Merry Christmas. So, yep, 2022 is going to be a better year. I'm so excited with the Pattern Club starting and on some of the other things that are going to be happening in 2022 that hopefully some of them I'll be able to start talking about next month. I'm hoping. There's one I know I won't be able to start talking about until like February, March, but for 2020, there's a couple things next month. So, and also I have a new pattern coming out next month that I'm really excited about. I haven't designed something like this in a while that is by itself. So it's always either been a book or something. So be watching for that. But anyway, here we go. Linda says, if we don't see you, all health and happiness in the new year and a very happy birthday. Thank you. Thank you. I'll be here. I promise, because I've already told my husband that I am taking the hour to chat with you guys. So, but I hope all of you will get to be here too. So anyway, I'm going to sign off now. Have a great day. Have a great rest of your week. Merry Christmas. And I will see you next time. Talk to you all soon. Bye, y'all.